Good evening, campers, dreamers, and babysitters. And yes, we are here with a quick little trailer dissection, conversation, whatever you'll call it, for the film Sting, which, honestly, we covered this like most topics on this show. We talked about this on the Sunday Scaries a couple months back, and well, maybe about a year ago now. It's
Yeah, I
been a
think so.
while,
It's been
and
a minute.
they had mentioned that this was going to be Weta doing practical effects. It's a spider film, and this was like a big deal for us because we're big fans of like arachnophobia and eight-legged freaks, and I feel like spider films. They just haven't gotten their due recently, and this one seemed intriguing, and now we can finally sit here and put some of the footage to the test and see just what kind of quality we're getting with this we can't forget, space spider film. And clearly, based off our analytics, you guys really are eating this up because that one little clip from Sunday Scaries has like triple the amount of views than even some of our more anticipated videos do. So, Luke, we got to check out the trailer. How are you feeling about Sting?
You just mentioned that you felt like a lot of spider horror maybe doesn't get its due, and I think it's kind of interesting because they're almost kindred spirits, I think, to werewolf films, where it's kind of hard to tackle. I think there are certain elements in those types of films that you need to hit, but they're very difficult to hit. As we look at it, we have eight-legged freaks, we have arachnophobia, not a big catalog of horror spider films. So going into Sting, absolutely hesitant of what this is going to look like. But now that we have a trailer, I got to say, my expectations are really, I'm very surprised at this because my expectations weren't necessarily high, but I consider them growing now that I did see the trailer because this thing, from front to back, looks pretty well done from what we did get. And, I got to say, they did captivate me with some of the gore that they had in here.
Yeah, there are some pretty intense sequences, especially I really like the one that they're kind of focusing on in this trailer with the little spider going into the woman's throat.
Yes.
Like that was some good stuff
Great
to
end
see.
cap to a trailer.
Absolutely. Very, very that's going to stick with you. And I think for a lot of people who have a fear of spiders, like, oh, that's going to be a scene that's going to seriously make you shake cuz like it's good. I really like this a lot, honestly. Like I was pretty positive just because you talk about practical effects, talk about big spiders like you. It's one of those things that I want there to be really quality spider films, but you never know. You really don't know, and most of them are pretty garbage when you look at the ones that are popping up on all the free streaming services and stuff. So the fact that this one, was kind of setting itself up to be a little bit more of a cut above than some of the ones we've seen in recent years, my expectations were, tampered. But yeah, I was blown away, honestly. Like I watched this trailer and I love the energy of it. I love that it's like, it seems serious and dark at some points, but with the music and the characters and the little girl cocking the shotgun and everything, it has that tinge of still looking like it's gonna be a lot of fun. And I love the apartment building aspect. It's giving me a lot of Evil Dead Rise vibes there. And I think that this has the potential to not only be creepy, crawly fun, but also a pretty grotesque, intense spider flick. Because it's really, if you guys don't know, or if you need to be refreshed, the whole like subject of this is that a mysterious object falls from the sky and smashes through this little girl's window in an apartment building. And it's an egg, and it emerges from that as a little spider, to which our main character, Charlotte, who's obsessed with comic books, kind of a tomboy esque fangirl, ends up taking it and collecting it and keeping it as a pet. But over the course of a few days, it seems like the spider just gets bigger and bigger until it is running amok in this apartment building, killing neighbors, friends, and Charlotte's got to be the one to put it down. So, looks like a blast. Honestly, I'm real excited for this.
Yeah, I know the trailer or the video that we had done from the Sunday Scaries. I know it was titled something like Space Spiders or something. In that concept that you just read, when you read, something crash landing from space and it's going to be this spider that hatches from an egg, you already get that kind of wackiness vibe to it, with them just kind of throwing that out there. So going into this, I was hoping that they were going to be able to capture some sort of wackiness into this trailer. And I got to say, the marriage of this over the top gore that we did get, and again, this is only a small trailer, but we did get some over the top gore in this thing, and this kind of wackiness tone. They really did find a happy marriage, and with comedy, sometimes it doesn't work in horror, but I think from what we're seeing here, they're set the table for this wacky tone. I think they're delivering here, at least in this trailer, and then kind of taking it a step farther with some of the the spider in the throat, the amounts of blood that we're getting here. There are big splashes of blood in this thing. And then you mentioned the apartment building. Whereas from a reference point, we're always going to talk arachnophobia. And that was more of a
Hmm.
secluded story inside of this house. And I think they got a lot of mileage out of that. So I can't imagine what they're really going to do in a giant high rise apartment like this. I think the body count's going to be a lot of fun. I think when you look at spider horror, when you're in slashers, you can kind of be like, okay, we're going to throw knives, we're going to throw machetes, and we kind of can understand what kind of tone we're going to get. But I think injecting spiders into horror, you get just, I don't even know what my expectation is going to be. I don't know what they're going to give us. It's just so much potential.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there is just a lot of potential for a really, again, kind of scratching that itch that we haven't seen in a long time. And it's kind of funny. They like to say that movies come in twos because we also have Infested, which is coming out. I believe, this is going to be right around, if not just after Sting is supposed to release, because I'm trying to get a solid release date on it. I think it's April, and I think both of these are coming out in April. But Infested, we don't have there's an international trailer, which you guys can check out for yourselves, but we haven't had like that official Screenbox or Shutter release trailer. And so it's kind of going to be interesting to me to see these two films because, again, they're both very similar in the sense that they both take place in apartment buildings, except one is a little bit more of like a mess of spiders as opposed to this being one giant space spider. But I mean, they're confident enough in Infested to have already signed that director for handling the Evil Dead spinoff. So it's honestly, it's so strange to me that we're talking, Evil Dead Rise with this trailer. We're talking how gory and visceral it is, and now we have two spider movies, and they're kind of, I guess adjacently consistent with the Evil Dead thing. It just seems like this is a very interesting time to be a spider movie fan.
Yeah, who really knew that would be uh, I guess an attribute of 2024 horror, but it is, and I think when we look at something like Infested, I think, from what that director has come out and said about Evil Dead, and again, we don't really have a reference point in terms of his work because I haven't seen anything other than what he has mentioned. I could see that one being more of a tone of dread without the wackiness that we did get here of Sting, because you can really see that they're leaning into the wacky element of this space spider in Sting. So I could see maybe that being the kind of line in the sand of we have Infested being more of a just complete looming dread, more of a serious type of film, where this one has that gore, but also that over the top kind of wackiness to it as well. So I'm intrigued to see what both these films are going to have to offer. I can't wait to get some more kind of insight into what Infested's going to be, because I got to say, right now, Sting has me hooked. I'm really excited to see what they're going to bring from this little trailer that they did give us. We're getting a lot of great stuff here. I can't wait to see
Hmm.
some character development, what these kills are going to look like. And obviously, we see the spider growing exponentially throughout
Yes.
this little trailer here. So I can't wait to see by the end of this film what that's going to look like.
Yeah, and I agree. I think that this one is definitely it's hitting all the points that I was hoping to see out of it. And again, a bit of a surprise because we hadn't heard anything for so long. I've asked a couple of the people who have worked with us when it comes to the distribution company for this, Well Go USA, if they're knowing we're getting a trailer, knowing we can get our hands on a screener, and nobody knew anything. So I was a little worried
Hmm.
about what that means because usually that's not the best sign. But this trailer blew me away, man. I was definitely excited for this. This has jumped up my list of like I need to track this down. I need to get this covered because yeah, I'm anticipating it. And the best part is we don't have to wait too long. So only a couple of months. And yes, this is set to come out in April. There's no hard release date as of yet, but they did say coming in April. So Yeah, I'm all in, man. I am here for it. I am here also for Infested. So, yeah, we'll have some spider horror on the horizon, folks. So, forgive us if we decide to mix in a couple of retro reviews with, maybe some eight-legged freaks, maybe some arachnophobia. I mean, hey, you don't have to twist our arm to talk about those. So, other than that, let us know what you guys think down below of the Sting trailer. Was this thing, a surprise for you as much as it was for us, or do you think this just looks goofy and really not up your alley, and you're kind of just gonna hold off until we get, Violent Nature or some other interesting looking Shutter properties? So alrighty, but other than that, yeah, let us know down below and check out some of our other videos on the channel. We got a lot of fun stuff up. We've been doing a lot of fun things. We just had our top 5 for Valentine's Day dysfunctional horror couples. It was a lot of fun to do. And yeah, we also had a sit down with our buddies Alex and Evan on Monday where we talked some more trailers. And yeah, we just kind of had a medley of different horror films to discuss there. So good times, good videos, and yeah, that's going to wrap it up here. So, till next time, I am Dylan Newell.
And I'm Luke Janesco.
And remember, stay scared.
Do the horror shit, gonna do it live. Cause Splattercast kick it every day they live. Splattercast, gonna slash your ass. 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 Splattercast, gonna slash your ass.